Good morning, good morning. It is Ty, the LinkedIn guy. And today I want to talk to you. Well, good morning. It's Monday morning here in Tokyo. I know it's Father's Day in the USA. Also here in Japan yesterday, Sunday. But today I want to talk about workflow process. And pretty much it really comes down to getting stuff done. Like getting stuff done when you are on LinkedIn or in your daily business. Now, I can be the best procrastinator in the world. Absolutely. I can find any excuse to not do some work. And generally it comes from this. For me, it's if I have a task or piece of work that I know that I have to do, and I'm really good at doing it, and I know it's going to be great, I kind of leave it. And I need to put that kind of pressure on myself, or for whatever reason, I just put it to the side. It's horrible. Now, for LinkedIn, I want to ask you this question. Does this sound kind of familiar? You go into LinkedIn, you turn it on, you log in, comes up, you've got your news feed, you see your little red notifications, and the first thing you do is you check your kind of inbox, maybe you have a look at that, and then you see some other notifications, someone's birthday or whatever, and then hey Tina, hey Victoria, how are you? Yeah, exactly like that, Tina. I'm like that. I'm really bad like that. So you check that, then you end up looking at the news feed, and you see an article that's interesting, and you end up reading an article about Elon Musk's new car that's coming out, or the 10 leadership principles of this or that. Then you think, okay, maybe I should look for someone, and you do some kind of search, and you reach out, and you just send a connection request and hope that goes. And then you look at your inbox again, and someone wrote a message and they're selling you something, and 40 minutes go by, 45 minutes go by, and you've achieved nothing on LinkedIn. And what's the result? Big fat zero. And again, you go into LinkedIn and you feel, well, that was a waste of time. And God, LinkedIn sucks. Who does that sound like? Does that sound familiar for anyone? For anyone? Tina? Victoria? Anyone? Does that sound familiar? Because I see it all the time, right? When I used to look at how my consultants would use LinkedIn, that's what can occur. And the problem is you go in every day like that for about a week, then you're like, this kind of sucks. And you go away for like 2 weeks, and then you remember, LinkedIn. And then you go back and you kind of repeat that same process, and you wonder why it's not working. Now, this is a huge, that does happen. I know, Franco, that does happen. Tina, Victoria, exactly. I see it all the time. And with my clients that come to me, all of them are doing the same as well. So don't despair. This is really common that I see on LinkedIn. But the problem is it's like a feedback loop, right? You go in there and you do that and you get nothing. So then it sucks. And then it's harder to go back each time. And the length of time between when you go in and you try something gets longer and longer. And then eventually you're going in there once a month. And it's like, wow, you've just missed out on the largest opportunity in the B2B space in the world. There's now 610 million users on LinkedIn. All the numbers are increasing engagement, increasing in their own revenue that they're making. Everything about LinkedIn is increasing. So it's time for you to get in there. Now, one of the big issues is because you don't have a workflow process, what it means is you're not doing the tasks and you're not doing the activities that are going to get you as close to a revenue event as fast as possible. Because every time you go into LinkedIn, what you want to have is, you're taking that step closer to that revenue event, whether that's a sale, whether that's putting someone into your sales funnel, into your webinar, and it leads to a funnel, and out the other end they pay you money. Because there's a whole host of tasks that you've got to do on LinkedIn to make that happen. Of course, you have to have your funnel in place, but there's a whole host of things. First, you've got to, there's connection campaigns you've got to run. There's visibility campaigns. There's content issues. There's nurturing existing leads. There's, connecting and building out that network. There's engagement activities that you can do. There's visibility activities that you can do. What else is there? Inbound activities, right? Inbound strategies. There's all these different facets, all these different elements that you should be doing on LinkedIn on a regular basis, if not daily, to make it happen. And where it comes down to is you've also got to know your numbers, right? Because then what you've got to do is put this all together into a workflow process. So every time you turn on LinkedIn, just like a pilot does when they get in the plane, she doesn't just turn the engine on and fly off. She has a checklist, and it keeps her focused on the task at hand and makes sure every element is completed. And then there's going to be a nice safe flight and a nice safe landing. And the same thing with when you go into LinkedIn, because there's going to be a cost, not only in terms of time, but also to your kind of mindset. Because if you keep on going into LinkedIn every time and getting nothing, it's just going to reduce the likelihood of you actually going in there and doing anything. And therefore, a massive opportunity cost. However, if you go in there each time and you have a set of tasks that you complete, and you complete it like a checklist, and that way you can also then put it into a time frame. So all of you, really, before you go into LinkedIn, you should have a clear intent of what you're trying to achieve that day. Is it a campaign of connection and messaging? Is it a visibility day? Is it a day you're going to be working on content? Is it a day that you're going to be nurturing? Is it a day you're going to be doing inbound strategies? Or is it a combination of all of those? Some of my clients now, they get very, very good at maneuvering themselves through LinkedIn, that they're able to achieve in 1 hour what I would usually see someone take, 3 or 4 hours to do. And that's probably spread over a couple of days. Because when they go in, they have absolute intent. What their goal is. Maybe it's to speak to X amount of people or to send X amount of connection requests. Because what you really have to get going on your LinkedIn, and this is in all your business, is really know your numbers. So for you to make a sale, what does it involve for you to make a sale? If you go right to the top of your funnel and look at your attraction model, how many people need to enter your funnel for you to make a sale? And that's the way you've got to look at LinkedIn as well. How many connection requests do you have to send to get X amount of connections? Because when you have X amount of connections, you then can do your follow-up messages and get into X percentage of conversations. When you have that number worked out, then you know how many people you need to speak to. And from that number, how many of them then enter a sales call. And then from that, how many of those sales calls turn into revenue. And once you have those numbers, and you can get pretty predictable, right, with your numbers. When you have the data and you're following it and you're tracking it, you can get pretty particular with certain avatars. Like if I chase real estate agents, I know if I send 75 connection requests, I'm going to be connected to 30. Out of that 30, 40% are going to get into conversation. There's 12 of them. 12 of them are going to enter, out of that 12, I get 30% entering my funnel. There's 4 of them that go into my funnel, and I close 1 in 4. So I know every day, like I take it right back to its raw number, that's what I have to do. Everything I do is in support of getting into that conversation, whether it's nurturing, whether it's content, whether it's inbound, but I've got all these activities that I have to do to try to meet that KPI, right? Key performance indicator. So when you know your numbers, you can then start to look at all the activities that you have to do to support that number. And then you can put it together in a workflow process. And this goes for any of your business. So what are the steps? What are you going to take care of each time? And, when you do it over and over and over again, eventually it becomes habitual and you have success with it. But write them down. Break your process down so then you follow it. Then the next part is programming it into your day. Are you blocking your daily activity? And I know I go through phases. I'm not this, perfect example of it, but I can tell you when I block my day, when I chunk my day into specific blocks and I pre-plan my day the day before, the efficiency that I have is amazing. I mean, I am on track and I will conclude the day with absolute results. And the great thing about that again, that feeds into the mindset. Like every day, if you're winning, if you're experiencing that you're getting stuff done and not busy stuff that's detracting you from actually making money, don't be confused with doing busy work. I'm talking about activities that are really getting you closer to revenue events. If you block your day, then you're able to program your LinkedIn, because usually if you can dedicate about an hour to LinkedIn, and you may chunk it into 2 sections, and then you also test, when you're doing your activity, when is the likelihood that your avatars are actually online as well? Because you want to act straight away. When you connect with people, none of this rubbish that I see out there, like send a connection request, wait 3 days, then send a message, wait 2 days. That's just BS. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We don't do that in real life. I wouldn't walk up to you in a networking event and say, hi, I'm Ty, I'm the LinkedIn guy. I'll be back in 30 minutes with a question. We wouldn't do that. Or not even that. Just walk up and say, hi, I'm Ty, the LinkedIn guy. And then walk off. And then 45 minutes come back and say, oh, hi, I had a question. And then walk off again. We wouldn't do that in real life. Don't do that on LinkedIn. I don't know I see who's teaching that. It's not what you want to be doing. Anyway, once you program your day, and do it in hour blocks, 30-minute blocks, but pre-plan your day and put your activity in your day's calendar. And LinkedIn prospecting or your LinkedIn session should be as important as like a client meeting. Because believe me, what I see, the feast-famine cycle is so real, right? What happens is you get really, really busy, and say you're doing busy work and you've got all these clients, and then the clients dry up. And then what happens? You go into a bit of a panic mode. You go into a bit of anxiety, a bit of, there's this like desperation mode. And then you go into the market, start hunting for clients, and you start reaching out to people, and you're getting more no's. And then you start to cascade down to that, and what happens is a month or 2 months go by and you've secured no new clients, you've got no new business, and you're really desperate then. And what happens? You tend to make mistakes. You tend to make decisions more poorly. Decisions you make aren't the best decisions. You start to take on clients that are horrible. So this is the trick. The way to stay level-headed is to always be prospecting, not always be closing, but always be prospecting. Be in the market every day, looking for and speaking with and engaging with ideal client avatars. Because what's going to happen with that is that you'll get less desperate because you always have this pipeline of people. Every meeting that you do secure, it's not like It's not like if I lose this, I'm in so much trouble. Another meeting's coming, and then you're coming from a position of more authority. You're coming from a position where you're not that kind of desperate guy. And the fact is, think about it. If you've just won 3 new clients, how's your mindset? How pumped are you? How bulletproof do you feel? How awesome do you feel? That's when you should be prospecting. Makes sense, right? When you've just secured clients, you've got all the business in the world, you should be prospecting right then and there, because it means you're only going to take the best clients. You're going to come across as super confident, especially if you know your staff. And I don't believe in the fake it till you make it stuff. Like if you can get outcomes for people, that's awesome. I don't care if you're new or old in the business. If you absolutely can get outcomes, that's the confidence that you have to show them. But that's when you should be prospecting. When you are busy, people say, I'm too busy to prospect. Rubbish. You should dedicate at least, an hour a day, especially if you're a solopreneur, guys. I'm talking about, small business owners and solopreneurs. If you're responsible for your own client acquisition and you're doing it organically, especially on LinkedIn, then you've got to be doing it every day. Don't wait to those moments where the pipeline is dry, the client's contracts are finishing, and then you're in like holy moly mode. Don't be in that. That is the worst time to prospect. You are going to stuff up and the clients are going to feel it. All right. So with your workflow process, start to break down all the elements and all the tasks that you need to do, and then put it into a natural flow of activity. And again, it could be split between outbound activity, inbound activity, and nurturing sequences. And that's what I coach my clients to, is that they put together workflow processes so they can go in there, switch on and switch off, and basically get in, run their activities, and get out with the result. So then every day they can go back. They can go back and do it. Right? And they're going to get rejections, of course. But when you do it every single day and you execute daily and you keep it to a plan, it's so much easier to go in and get out. Not be stuck reading articles and commenting on stuff that's just not relevant to you or your business, but doing specific activities. So really think about this, guys. Do you have a workflow process? If it's no, start to list down the activities that you need to do to be able to reach your KPIs, whatever that may be. Work backwards. Work backwards from your sale. How many people do you need to do a sales pitch to? How many people does that require to get into a sales pitch? Work it back. Then make sure you program your day. Really, everyone says, I don't have the time. I can always find time in people's schedule when you look at it and you say, well, show me, what are you doing? And the first thing, if they don't have a blocked schedule, then all they are doing is spending the day reacting to stuff rather than being in control of their day. Yeah. So if you don't have a block schedule, start to practice that. It's a really, really beneficial task. And I myself, I've got to do it more as well, because I might go for a week without doing it, and then I'm kind of floundering during that week. Yeah, I'm not accomplishing as much as I hoped. But when I pre-plan my days and then I run that plan, man, it's so efficient and you feel so much better. And 80%, 90% of what we do as an entrepreneur, it really is that mindset. When we are feeling down, and then we do less activity and we get less results, it's just that horrible feedback loop. It just goes on and on and on, and you'll spiral and spiral. So guys, take a step back, have a look at how you're running your day. Are you truly being efficient? Are you blocking your day into chunks of time? And the best thing I can say is block your time, with one activity, and a very deliberate activity, and that's all you do. Like if you're cold calling, whoever cold calls in the group, whatever, if you're in a cold calling, it doesn't mean you do the follow-up email after the cold call and then you put it into your database. No, write it down, but you are cold calling. That's what you're doing for an hour. You're just making the calls. You do the follow-up. That's your next block of time, 30 minutes for follow-up. Block your time into activities and stay absolutely focused, and be merciless with that block of time. And I guarantee you, do that for 2 weeks, you will see a massive change, a total transformation in your business, just by blocking your time into key elements and sticking to it. Now I can easily fill my day with crap. I will find any excuse sometimes to do stuff, and I'll make stuff up, make extra stuff, do activities, and all that happens at the end of the day is I don't really feel I accomplished anything. And then I feel bad about it, and then I beat myself up about it. Why'd you do that? And then the next day still feeling a little bit crappy, so you do it again, and it's like you're feeding yourself all the wrong signals. So workflow process, blocking your time, and then execute your plans, guys. Be disciplined with that. Just that one shift, that one transformation in the way that you run your time and run your activities, and be deliberate. It can truly, absolutely transform your business. You will free up, and you will suddenly find all this extra time that you say, I'm too busy. It's really amazing. I review a lot of our breakthrough calls that I do and my team does. And I hear people say, I'm so busy. And then I find out, well, how many new clients do you have this month? And they're like, oh, 1. Okay, how many clients do you have in total? Oh, like 2. How are you so busy? What are you doing? It's such an amazing thing to hear when people say that they are so busy, and then their revenue is so low, and their client numbers are so low. You're fooling yourself. And what I can usually pinpoint it to is that their lack of actually pre-planning their days and lack of workflow process. So that's it for me. I hope that kind of gives you a bit of a kick. And if you don't have any of those elements in place, please put them in place. They will transform everything for you. So I'm out of here. I've got stuff to do. I am working. I am going to do stuff today. All right, guys, have a good one. And and for the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. It's great being dads, right? Love it. All right, see you guys.